On that note, it's been a great pleasure, Heather.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. See you next time on Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. New shakeups rock the Trump administration. The president announcing the departure of White House Chief of Staff John Kelly in the coming days.
John Kelly will be leaving, but I don't know if I can say retiring, but he's a great guy. John Kelly will be leaving at the end of the year. We'll be announcing who will be taking John's place. It might be on an interim basis. I'll be announcing that over the next day or two, but John will be leaving at the end of the year. He's been with me almost 2 years now, as you know, between the two positions. So we're probably going to see him in a little while.
The announcement coming amid two major developments in special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe. Mueller's team accusing former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort of lying to prosecutors about several major issues in a heavily redacted new filing. And federal prosecutors recommending substantial prison time for former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen for illegal payments allegedly directed by President Trump to two women who claimed they had had affairs with the president before he was president. Fox News Channel Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry is here to break it all down. Let's begin with Cohen. Okay. I was looking over the filing. It looks like most of it is about cheating the IRS for millions and millions of dollars, and the payment to the mistresses was very, very small, and people argue that that could be a personal expense since it came out of the Donald Trump's personal bank account.
The best thing the president has going from right now is the mainstream media likes to blow up every development into the walls are closing in, he's finished.
Right.
And we heard that Michael Cohen was cooperating. He had had all of these hours behind closed doors with Mueller. He's really going to turn in the dirt. But instead, you're right. Largely, this was financial crimes we had heard about before, tax evasion, problems, no doubt, lying.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened.
A lot of tax evasion.
Okay.
Millions of dollars.
The new dimension with Cohen was a November 2015 contact he had with an alleged trusted source in Russia.
Right.
So that opened the door. Is this collusion? So far, there's no evidence it was collusion. It shows contact, communication, maybe some kind of a problem, but still, after all this time, no proof of Russian collusion, which is where this started.
So the allegation was that some guy up in the hierarchy over there in Russia contacted Michael Cohen and said, hey, you know,
let's have synergy.
Let's have synergy. Maybe we can help out the campaign. Maybe I'd like to meet the Trump at some point. Nothing ever materialized.
But not evidence of collusion. The other key point you mentioned, campaign finance, in terms of paying off the women. Again, embarrassing, shouldn't have happened. You can talk about it all day, but it's not new. We've heard about it before, number one. And number two, think about the John Edwards case, where this essentially went away. And the president's going to make the argument these were personal funds. They were not campaign funds.
Right.
So while a lot of people are screaming,
to be reported.
He directed a campaign finance violation, breaking the law, and that his business is going to be drawn in because the Trump organization didn't file all the right paperwork. But at the end of the day, it sounds like the president's not going to be.
That's a filing violation.
And that's not going to be an impeachable offense.
That's very small ball. All right. Manafort quickly broke the deal that he had with the Mueller team. They accused him of lying and trying to cover up things. What was the main takeaway there? Is the president exposed by anything regarding Paul Manafort or not?
There's only one thing that I would raise. Let me start with the thing that's not that important. So they all of a sudden come up and say in this memo that he was lying about what? About some guy named Dr. K, who's in Cyprus, may have ties to Russian intel, but
he was just doing like wire transfers for him and his Ukrainian business.
Well, I dug into this, and there's a story in USA Today in August of this year at the Manafort trial saying 6 bombshells from the Manafort trial and Rick Gates' testimony, and Dr. K is mentioned. So we've heard that one before,
bombshell.
Now, here's the point I want to make, though, quickly, which is that in May of this year, Manafort sent a text to an associate and said, I want you to have contact with a Trump administration official. Does that raise more questions about potential, obstruction? Why was Manafort, when a potential pardon is out there, why is he talking to the Trump administration? We frankly don't know. But again, bottom line, this started as an investigation about collusion with Russia. No evidence.
So let's go to General John Kelly. We've been hearing for a very long time John Kelly's out the door. Apparently now he'll be out the door January 1st. Who is next in line to fill that spot? Very tough job.
Absolutely. It seems like General Kelly was exhausted, kind of wanted to move on. He and the president have not exactly been on speaking terms, we're told, in recent days. Nick Ayers is the chief of staff to Vice President Pence. He's a shrewd political operator. Jared Kushner, as well as Ivanka Trump, Trump.
What a young little handsome lad that guy is. Trump is going to chew him up.
Well,
look at this guy. You think he's tough enough to handle the president?
He's seen, though, as a very shrewd political operative.
I hope
he's supported
so.
by Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, I'm told. Here's the bottom line. He wants to do it, we're told, but for a brief amount of time, the president is pushing him or anyone who's going to do the job to sign on for 2 years, get him through the re-election. So right now, it's the art of the deal. It's a negotiation. All right. Catch Ed Henry, Fox and Friends Weekends. There he is.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right, you too. Here with more, Fox News national security strategist Sebastian Gorka and Sarah Carter, Fox News contributors. Okay, ladies first, Sarah. If you look at the Cohen situation, you hear on other places in the mainstream media and on the left that Robert Mueller is closing in. He's getting closer and closer to collusion. I've looked at the memo. I don't see anything in the memo that says, you know what, this is a smoking gun. This is now Mueller really sinking his teeth into collusion. I see a lot of speculation and circumstantial evidence and the word Russia thrown in there once or twice, but nothing that I can say, aha, he's got him.
That's right. It's like if Michael Cohen would have gone to a Russian restaurant and ate borscht, they probably would have put that in there just to bring up Russia, right?
Right.
So my thing is this. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jesse. There is nothing in the memorandum that we see on Cohen that is explosive or that says, wow, there was collusion. There's nothing in there whatsoever. What I found really interesting was that when they talk about the Moscow project, and that was the project to build, you know, this Trump Tower in Moscow.
Right.
Remember, Cohen was always the kind of guy, and this has been reported in the past, that would kind of use his influence because he was so close to Trump to try to shake people up and get business going.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me that Cohen himself was out there reaching out to people trying to get business going.
Yeah, he was trafficking in his connections to Donald Trump. He was trying to, you know, kick dust around to see if he can scrum up some consulting fees. And I guess maybe he said that the discussion over the Trump Tower went to January. In fact, maybe it went into June. It's a difference of a few months.
That's
but
right.
I didn't really see anything that said to me, Dr. Gorka, that we're anywhere closer to where we were a year and a half ago with this thing. Do you?
Jesse, it is a massive nothing burger with Russian salad dressing dribbled all over it. That's all we have.
You're making me hungry, Doctor.
Me too.
Look, think about it. There is not one iota of evidence that connects the Trump campaign to any Russian intelligence operation to undermine the election. Not one. In 2 years and $35 million, Robert Mueller is a complete and utter failure. He's grasping at straws. The testimony we have from Dr. Corsi tells you everything you need to know. These are tax evasion charges. We have two baskets of indictees here. Right. We have tax evasion, right? We have things that have nothing to do with the Trump campaign, wire fraud 12 years ago. And then we have process crimes, when somebody who has a faulty memory is accused of perjuring themselves. Oh, and the third thing I forgot, sorry. Robert Mueller has been successful in indicting Russian spies for being spies.
Yeah.
And they're never going to
We
show
have not
up.
seen those guys frog marched back here into Washington, D.C.
No,
I don't think
not
we ever were.
happening.
You know, the special counsel, if you look at it, what happened in the 90s, Sarah, with the Clintons and started with Whitewater and a land deal. Years and years and years later, it was about lying about sex. You saw the same
and
thing
Monica Lewinsky.
in the Bush administration when they outed, allegedly, this woman for being a CIA agent. They spent years investigating that, Patrick Fitzgerald, and then they sent a guy to prison, and he wasn't even the guy that exposed
That's
her.
right.
It was Richard Armitage, Colin Powell's deputy, did. And then now we have a thing that starts with collusion and obstruction, and all we get are a campaign finance reporting violation and what? Tax evasion on a few guys that don't have anything to do with the campaign?
Well, I think what we're seeing here is that they weren't prepared, right? In any of these cases, they were in search of a crime. They didn't have a crime in their hands, so they went out looking for it. And now what we've seen over the last 2 years, Jesse, is more and more information surfacing actually on Hillary Clinton's campaign, on how the FBI and the DOJ handled this investigation, very egregious violations, possible malfeasance within the FBI
Robert
and
Mueller,
DOJ.
then, I'll put this to both of you. Why can't and why hasn't Robert Mueller gone after some of the egregious violations on the other side, the people in the Obama administration that leaked and unmasked the Flynn Russian ambassador phone call, or the Hillary Clinton dossier purchase, and then FISA abuse? Why isn't he, if he's supposed to be looking into any crimes that arise from Russian interference, aren't those crimes that arise from the investigation into Russian interference?
Jesse, why are 13 members of Robert Mueller's team Democrat donors?
Yeah, he's stacked.
This is a man. Right. You have to know one thing about this person. He shouldn't be investigating Donald Trump because of his own conflict of interest. The day before he was made special counsel by Rod Rosenstein, the day before, he interviewed with Donald Trump to get back his old job as the director of the FBI. Donald Trump said, "No, I need new blood. Sorry, but no thanks." How do you get to investigate the man who you crashed and burned in front of on your last job interview? How is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, it is. And I think there's a two-tiered system of justice here that the American people, and this is why people are angry, Jesse. It's not necessarily about the fact that they're investigating Trump, although now that we have the evidence that we know that the dossier, we've been reporting this for years, has been unverified. And, you know, Christopher Steele was using Russians to gather this intelligence. He was paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC through Perkins Coie. But now that we have all of this mounting information, you know, out there in evidence, the fact that they're not doing anything is stunning. And I think the American people are frustrated. They're angry over $30 billion spent on this $1 million spent on this investigation, and there is nothing to show for it but taking down, you know, bad apples who lied to Congress. But how many people have lied to Congress?
Yeah, I mean,
James
you'd have to
Clapper
lock up Clapper and Brennan and Comey himself
Hillary.
if you do that. And So listen, I think after all this, I've looked at this. I'm going to tell the American people, I'm going to withdraw any pursuit of higher office. I will never run for Congress, Senate, the presidency, because once I get elected, they're going to have a special counsel and they're going to catch me in a lie, any lie, because they will find a crime if they want to find a crime. And that's the truth. Once you have a special counsel, it's radioactive, and anything he touches, it's going down in flames. Dr. Gorka,
Jesse,
Sarah Carter.
Robert Mueller is following an old principle from the Soviet Union. Show me the man, and I'll show you the crime. It's un-American.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yesterday, James Comey testified on Capitol Hill behind closed doors. Today, we're finding out more about what was said. Fox News senior producer for Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, joins me now. All right, Chad, what were the highlights of that interview?
Well, one of the first things that we learned from James Comey is that he stood behind the FISA application for Carter Page. That's something he said publicly in the hallway there, and they were going to release this transcript about 24 hours afterwards. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights, the first blush that we have seen here. He was asked a question here about whether or not it was proper for Jeff Sessions to recuse himself, and he indicated that he thought that this was an obvious case for recusal. Trey Gowdy also asked Director Comey here, who at the FBI has the authority to launch an investigation into a major political campaign? Would it require approval by you? And Comey said, I don't know that I ever encountered a circumstance where an investigation was launched into a major political campaign. He talked about 100 million to 1. He said, who has won those campaigns when their odds were 100 million to 1? And he said, well, I don't know. Would it be Mao Zedong? Would it be Joseph Stalin? Those were actual quotes from the transcript here. At different points, Jesse, in the interview here, he applauded the Mueller probe. He said that this was an all-star team, that's the quote, of prosecutors and attorneys who were put together in this. And he said, quote, I would bet my life that Bob Mueller will do things the right way. Now, this is only the first round of this. He was up there for about 6.5 hours. He's going to come back on the 17th. We expect another round of questioning from lawmakers from both sides. There were 23 members there from both sides.
I looked at some of this transcript as well, and every time they ask him, did you know who paid for the Steele memo? Do you know Christopher Steele? Do you know he hated Trump? Do you know this was financed by the Democrats? Do you care? Did you look at? He seems like so wishy-washy. He's like, I don't really know. I'm not so sure who Chris Steele is. He seems so blasé over the fact that this was a politically motivated, Democrat investigation and smear job with a bunch of unverified claims that he then used to get a FISA warrant. And when Catherine Herridge asked him about that, did you have any faith in the veracity of the dossier? He said, oh, no, I had faith in the process. So I don't really know.
Right, the FISA application.
I know. Listen, Chad, I got to run, but good job out there. Listen.
Thank you.
Next, Barbra Streisand's biggest nightmare comes true on Water's World. 'Tis the season for some holiday hysteria, and it begins in the state of Illinois, where a satanic temple has added a statue in tribute to the Prince of Darkness among the twinkling holiday decorations in the state capitol, citing freedom of religion. And if that's not enough, liberals are still taking aim at Melania Trump's festive and patriotic decorations, accusing her of powwowing with Russia over her use of red Christmas trees. Recently, I spoke with president of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr., on this and other issues with the war on Christmas. All right, Jerry, listen, this is like the Trump derangement syndrome meets the war on Christmas. These decorations look fine to me. The left is calling them evil, bloody, spooky. They called the hallway a murder forest. Do you understand the outrage?
The First Lady was here at Liberty University, and she was asked the question about the criticism of her decorations, and she said, it's the 21st century. Everybody has different tastes. She said, I think they look beautiful. And the whole 10,000-seat arena was packed. Everybody started cheering for her. They agree with her. And it's, it's just so, it's such a double standard. If she were married to a Democratic president, she would be on the cover of every fashion magazine just about every month, because she's, I think, the most beautiful and classiest First Lady we've ever had.
Yeah, she's definitely the most stylish. And, you know, I have a lot in common with Melania. I mean, we are both incredibly stylish people. And sometimes we take fashion risks or design risks. And it's a burden that we bear because people just haven't really caught up to us. And eventually they will. And they don't understand, you know, red is the new black this year for Christmas.
But I have a feeling, though, that if you decorated the White House, it wouldn't be as pretty as the way she's done.
You know what? I think you'd probably be right. I'd probably just put a bunch of punch bowls up there and fill them to the brim. All right, let's get into this Massachusetts town. I guess the town's Dorchester, a beautiful town up in Massachusetts. They sent out an invitation to a Christmas party. And you ready? This is the theme. I'm dreaming of a white Dorchester. Now, you know, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Classic right there. Everybody understands that. But they got heat from all these left-wingers at the town that says that's racist. We're dreaming of a white Dorchester or white Christmas is racist.
Anybody with any common sense knows it's a take off the song White Christmas. It's art. And just like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, it's art. And the left always uses art as an excuse to put on display some of the most vile and just absolutely disgusting type of displays in different museums, but it's okay because it's art. Well, why isn't Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and White Christmas the song? Why isn't that just art? I mean, to me, it's hypocritical. Another double standard from the left, and I think people are getting tired of it. I think people see through it. Just when we thought that they'd run out of classes of people to name as victims, they come up with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as the newest victim class.
Yeah, listen to this Rudolph attack. The Huffington Post singles this out. They say Rudolph is it exhibits racism and homophobia, and they called Santa Claus abusive and bigoted, and they said it like promotes bullying or something like that. You know, from my recollection of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and I haven't seen it in a while, but the point was the people that were bullying Rudolph were bad, and he overcame the bullying to be the hero.
Right.
Wasn't that the point?
It's the underdog making it to the top. That's the way I took it, and it's just.
I mean, you know what? I agree with you. I think the war on Christmas is over. I think the people on that side lost, and they're just a bunch of dead enders running around. Now, this is kind of a controversial story, and I understand the controversy. There's a town in New Jersey, and there's this one house that puts up all these lights, like 30,000 lights. Very festive, very in the spirit of Christmas. And neighbors and the mayor are complaining, and they say there's too many Christmas lights. It's a distraction. It's causing all this foot traffic in the town, and they want this house to pay all this security money because it's too crazy. Do you understand the outrage, or do people have a point?
I don't think people should worry about what other people do on their property. I don't like zoning laws. I don't like. We spent over $1 billion here on campus the last 10 years, and we had to fight the city on so many different zoning matters where they tried to control us and tell us how we could do this and how big this sign had to be and how small this one had to be. And
yeah.
I just think they're good. I think it's un-American. I think we've gotten to a place where we let people who don't own any interest in property tell us what we can do with our property, and we're the ones that have paid for it.
It's true. I'm surprised they're not even complaining that the Christmas lights promote global warming. I mean, that's where I would have assumed they would have complained. All right,
that
Jerry.
house reminded me of Clark Griswold's house in the movie Christmas Vacation.
Exactly.
I wonder if he got grief for that one.
Exactly. Hopefully no one got electrocuted like Clark. All right, Jerry, thanks very much. I appreciate it. And Merry Christmas.
Great to be with you, Jesse. Merry Christmas to you.
Up next, Duck Dynasty star Willie Robertson is here.
He'll say the sixth and
I'm extremely happy with our country. We're doing better on the economy. Maybe it's the best economy we've ever had. They may be the best unemployment numbers and employment numbers that we've ever had. There are more people working in the United States right now at this moment than have ever worked in the United States by far.
President Trump boasting about the booming economy, and he's not the only one. A recent Gallup poll found that 53% of Americans approve of Mr. Trump's handling of the economy. That's 8% higher than the average for any administration since Reagan. One man benefiting from the boom, businessman, reality TV star, and author of the new book, American Entrepreneur, Willie Robertson. He joins me now. All right, Willie, I didn't know this about you. I thought you were just handed this Duck Dynasty franchise and, you know, you basically wrote it out. But you were a kind of a hard-working, young, scrappy entrepreneur as a young man.
I was.
You're making some change on the side and building the...
I made more than change.
More than change. All right.
I had a booming business. I started out in worm farming.
Worm farming?
You ever done any worm farming?
Does it look like I've done worm farming?
Probably not. No, probably not. So I had a good worm farm, but it was just a lot of labor-intensive work. Checkout was a nightmare, you know, trying to count 50 earthworms, sell them to the fishermen.
How much money can you make worm farming?
It was like a nickel a piece. I mean, it was tough work. It was tough work. Not as much. But then a guy handed my dad a box of Hubba Bubba bubble gum. Mm-hmm. And that ended up in my hands. And so, fifth grade now, I could have chewed it all right. I mean, all this gum. I decided to sell it for 50 cents a piece. I had no money in it. Sold it, made my first little money, then started buying candy like crazy, selling, dealing. I mean, I had everything. And
Dealing candy?
I was making hundreds of dollars, and the principal called me in and said concession stand sales were down, and he had to shut me down. So.
The government always trying to crack down on the working man.
I should have cut him in on the deal.
You should have.
Looking back, if I'd have had some real insight, I'd just cut him in on the deal.
The Hubba Bubba tycoon.
But we grew up with not a lot of money. So Dad was the duck calls. We were trying to get that off the ground, and we were. He was a commercial fisherman, so we did fish and ate a lot of fish and sold a lot of fish, and so I was always trying to make some extra money, and so that's why I ended up the CEO of the business. I went back to Dad later in life, and I said, "Hey, remember all the candy stuff I did? And so how about I be the CEO?" And he agreed, and here we are.
So now, have you noticed the business climate down south in your neck of the woods? Has it been really booming, as the president says? Have small businesses really taken off to the extent that we're hearing about across the country?
I think so. I think the country, in my opinion, has a great sense of the economy, that there's money to be made, more money in our pockets, and so our business certainly has been great, and looks like, you know, the consumer confidence is up. So I think the president is, you know, I think he's online, and that was one of the reasons that I thought he'd be a good president, was because of the business background. And so I really thought, man, we need somebody with some business background in the White House.
Well, the president gives himself very high grades. Let's listen to how he assessed himself.
I think I'm doing a great job. We have the best economy we've ever had.
So where do you rank yourself?
I would give myself, look, I hate to do it, but I will do it. I would give myself an A+. Is that enough? Can I go higher than that?
Can I go higher than that? Kenny? I don't think so.
That was like me in school, but in reverse. Is there anything lower than an F? Because, I mean, I don't want to be there. But, yeah, he feels good about the job he's done, huh?
Yeah, he feels very good, very confident. And, you know, I think it helps when you have a former businessman in the White House, because he really is cheerleading this economy. If you jawbone this thing and you look at the stock market and you look at the job creation, and even wages are up to the highest clip that they've been in almost a decade, that kind of megaphone from the Oval Office really juices optimism and just the raw sentiment out there.
Right. Totally agree. And we go through in the book, especially going back to when our country first started, a lot of people may not know this, our government kept running out of money. They would go to entrepreneurs to help bail them out. And so
maybe we could have some big philanthropist build a wall.
I thought about that. I mean, because because the War of 1812, I mean, we were running out of money. George Washington was running out of money, and so they turned to big business guys, and they loaned the government money, and so they went to entrepreneurs to do that. And so I think as long as we have that, as long as our economy is strong, I mean, the opportunity in this country still is awesome to run businesses, start businesses. And I think people feel like, yeah, I can start a business in this country and make money.
Speaking of big businesses, you talk a lot in your book, The American Entrepreneur, about Rockefeller and richest man in U.S. history. Just to put it into perspective, you write in today's dollars, he would be worth how many hundreds of billions of dollars?
It's astronomical how much money that he was able to wrap his head around and hands around. And he heard this motto when he was little in church, and the pastor said, you should make as much money as you can and then try to give away as much money as you can. And that really... that changed his whole life, saying, I'm going to go make as much money as I can. He did. And
yes, he did.
He made although early in his life, his goal was to make $100,000 in his life and live to be 100. He almost hit the 100. He made well past 100,000. Then he tried to give it as much as he could away. And so really, at the end of his life, he turned saying, I'm going to try to give this away. And he said it almost gave him a nervous breakdown. It was harder than doing business. It was actually trying to figure out which charities to give money to.
I wish I had that problem. Trying really hard to find out ways to give my money away.
Maybe you will. So
maybe I will.
Keep your options open.
If Waters World keeps going the way it is, hopefully I'll have that problem. Willie, he doesn't have that problem. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Good.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll be right back.
Let's be honest.
Massachusetts church receiving massive backlash over a controversial nativity scene, which included placing a baby Jesus inside a cage. Yes, and writing the word deportation over the wise men. All of this is a way to, quote, spark a conversation about the current illegal immigration situation at the border. Here with their thoughts, Diamond and Silk. So I guess they're trying to make a point about, you know, Donald Trump separated families. He put kids in cages. I mean, what are you guys supposed to say about that? Obama put baby Jesus in a cage first?
Well, here's the deal. I think what the church should be focusing on is Planned Parenthood, how they take and abort babies. I think that's what they should be focused on. They should be focused on all of the hate that's going on from the Democratic Party and Democrats that hate this sitting president. That's what they should be focused on instead of putting baby Jesus in a cage, because Donald Trump didn't do that. That was done up under the Obama administration. What Donald Trump did, President Trump did, was follow the law.
And it's really sad that I see these churches wanting to make a mockery of people's faith and religion and traditions. It's really, really sad.
You know what would be really, really sad, guys? If some wise men came over and sprung little baby Jesus out of jail. You know, maybe in the night. You know, I'm not encouraging that, but I could see that happening where some people, you know, give little baby Jesus a jailbreak and set that baby free. But again, I don't encourage that, but wouldn't surprise me if it happened. All right, Al Sharpton. I should call him the Reverend. I don't want to insult him. He sold his life story rights for $500,000 to his own charity. Okay,
so he sold it back to himself.
Yeah,
right.
So he sold his life story rights to himself. He basically wrote himself a check for $500,000 from his own charity, and then I guess on the back end, if someone ever buys these rights, it just enriches the charity, which is probably going to pay him some more.
Isn't that misappropriation of funds? I mean, he's giving himself a kickback paddywhack to have more money in his pocket.
Yeah.
How about he take that $500,000 and pay some to the IRS?
Yeah, I mean, he does owe a lot of back taxes to the IRS still. I don't know, maybe the check's in the mail.
Who knows?
It looks like, and the people that watch these nonprofit experts and the charity people, they're saying, I mean, this is kind of breaking IRS rules, and, you know, this is going to be a lot of potential for funny business. But Sharpton's always been in the funny business game. All right, Kevin Hart was supposed to host the Oscars. He's no longer hosting the Oscars. Years ago, many years ago, he sent out a tweet saying this. Yo, if my son come home and try to play with my daughter's dollhouse, I'm going to break it over his head and say in my voice, stop that, that's gay. I don't even know if that's a joke or if he's trying to be funny, but they dug up a bunch of old tweets, and now he's canned from hosting.
Okay, now, Jesse, now take a look at this here.
Yeah.
Why is the Oscars trying to make Kevin Hart apologize? They never made Jimmy Kimmel apologize for what he was doing. You know, they got him on videotape being a misogynist, a sexist, telling women to do certain things to his body parts. They didn't make him apologize for that, but they want to make Kevin Hart apologize. I don't understand that. And when do people have time to redeem themselves? A tweet from 10 years ago, you know, everybody has evolved on that issue.
Yes.
Please, I mean, give me a break. Leave Kevin Hart alone.
You know,
I don't agree with Kevin Hart politically,
right,
but I do not agree that the Oscars should have made him apologize in order for him to be able to participate.
It is funny you brought up Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel did a skit in blackface. You've had Joy Reid, the host over at MSNBC, say some pretty anti-gay things.
Yes.
We've had, I think Caitlin Collins is her name, over at CNN. One of their correspondents said some things in the past, very anti-gay. Now, Kevin, he never really apologized because he didn't think he needed to, and he's been over this. And he said at one point, he said, stop looking for reasons to be negative. Stop searching for reasons to be angry. I'm a happy person. I got love for everybody. You grow, you learn, you mature. Let's just put an end to all this stuff.
But welcome to the world of political correctness. The left do it to the right every time. Now the left is just eating their own.
Exactly. And Kevin Hart need to also apologize for disparaging our president because he's your president too, Kevin Hart.
Okay, that's what he should apologize for. Got it. All right, ladies, Diamond and Silk, everybody. There they are on the Chit Chat Tour. Check out the dates. All right, up next, a pro-Trump couple responds to Barbra Streisand, who said men just tell their wives who to vote for. Now, the real story up next.
Who told you you're allowed to rain on my
If you're a woman who voted for Donald Trump, turns out you're too stupid to make your own decisions. That's according to Barbra Streisand, who told the Daily Mail, quote, "I love my country, and it's painful to see democracy being assaulted, institutions being assaulted, and women being assaulted. A lot of women vote the way their husbands vote. They don't believe enough in their own thoughts. maybe that woman who's so articulate, so experienced, and so fit for the presidency, Hillary, was too intimidating. Wow. Holly and Chris Turner, married, who both support Donald Trump and voted for him, join me now. Okay, Holly and Chris, start with you, Holly. Did your husband tell you to vote for Donald Trump?
Absolutely not, Jesse. I mean, I don't let my husband tell me what type of creamer to put in my coffee, never mind who to vote for. I mean, is this the stupidest thing Barbara Streisand has ever said?
Well, it's a long list.
But do we know of any woman who has actually said that she voted for the person that her husband told her to vote for? No one has come forward that I know of.
I mean, she is stuck in the 1960s, but probably even farther back than that. I mean, I don't think in this day and age, in 2018, we have Beyonce, you have Hillary, all these powerful women and the Me Too movement and everything, that a husband can tell any wife who to vote for. I mean, I know so many husbands that are whipped themselves, Chris. They do everything their wives tell them to do. It's probably the reverse. I bet a lot of women told their husbands who to vote for. Did your wife tell you who to vote for?
Yeah, when I heard this, or anytime I hear comments like this from talk show mavens or people like Barbara Streisand, I always cringe because I'm gonna go to the office or come home and I know there's gonna be a conversation with this one about it because there'll be storm clouds raging. I mean, look, in our case, I remember back to July of 2015, right? Over a year before the presidential election. And she was hard selling me on Trump, not the other way around.
Oh, she was selling you on Trump?
Oh, yeah, hardcore.
Wow, okay. Oh, this is interesting. So it was the exact opposite. Did your wife convince you to vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, she was shaming me. She was really putting this hard, I went into docile mode. I didn't know what to do. I was pushing back hard.
Who did you support before Donald?
It was July.
You weren't even thinking about it.
Yeah, I was supporting, earning money and putting food on the table at the time, and she was telling me not only, was I going to be supporting Donald Trump, but that he was going to win the primary definitively, and that he was going to beat Hillary Clinton. I mean, she had it all the way through to the end.
Wow, you really, Holly, you called it from way early. I mean, Barb decided exactly the opposite in your marriage. I mean, totally, completely opposite of what her instincts told her. Now, when you hear something like that from Barbara Streisand about men telling their wives who to vote for and the women not being strong or independent-minded enough to make their own decisions, how does that make you feel as a woman?
Well, look, I'm about facts, and I think Barbara's the one who's focusing on her feelings. So the facts are that women make 90%, or 90% of women make the financial decisions for their households. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. 40% of the women are the primary income earners for their families. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. And it's estimated that they're going to be the majority of income earners, primary income earners for their families in the future. Look, when was the last time Barbara Streisand went to the store and saw what a gallon of milk cost? She has no idea. The women know what they need for their families, and they knew that President Trump was going to deliver for them, and that's why they voted the way they did. And they're going to vote that way again in 2020. It's not about emotions for us. It's about taking care of our families and doing what's right for our kids and for the future of our country.
All right, Holly and Chris, there they are, Trump-supporting couple, except she convinced him to vote for Donald Trump. Thanks, guys, very much. I appreciate it.
Bye,
Thank
Jesse.
you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right, up next, last call.